College parties were the epitome of youthful exuberance, and my friends and I were eager participants in the revelry. One fateful night, we found ourselves at the Alpha Omega Frat House, a place known for wild parties and legendary tales. The frat house was alive with energy. Music reverberated through the walls, and laughter echoed in every corner. My friends and I joined the dance floor, swept up in the frenzy of the night. As the hours passed, the party grew more chaotic. I needed a break and decided to venture upstairs in search of a bathroom. The narrow staircase led me to a dimly lit corridor on the second floor, a stark contrast to the madness below. I stood outside the bathroom door, waiting for my turn, when I noticed her, a girl, standing a few feet away. Her long, dark hair cascaded down her back, and she wore a simple white dress. She was captivating, and I couldn't take my eyes off her. I approached her, trying to strike up a conversation. "Hey, this party's pretty wild, huh?" She turned to me, her eyes deep and mysterious. "Yes, it is," she replied, in a soft, alluring voice. "But sometimes it's nice to escape the chaos." We talked effortlessly, the world below forgotten. But something was strange about her. She always stayed in the shadows, avoiding the dim light. Whenever I tried to see her face, she would shift away. As the night wore on, I couldn't ignore my curiosity any longer. "Why won't you let me see your face?" She hesitated, her gaze fixed on the moonlight streaming in from a nearby window. "Some things are better left in the shadows," she whispered. Despite the unease gnawing at me, I didn't press further. Instead, we continued to talk, our connection deepening with each passing moment. As the night came to a close, I asked for her number, hoping to see her again. She agreed, but before we could exchange contact information, my friends found me, eager to leave the frat house. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about the mysterious girl from the party. I told my friends about her, but they looked at me with confusion and disbelief. "Are you sure you're not making this up?" Mark, one of my closest friends, asked. "No, I swear. I was talking to her all night," I replied, growing increasingly frustrated. "You guys must have seen her. Long, dark hair, white dress, standing near the bathroom." They exchanged puzzled glances. "We never saw anyone like that," Sarah, another friend, said. "You must have been talking to someone who wasn't there." I couldn't believe it. It was as if the girl had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a lingering sense of unease. My friends tried to convince me that it was a trick of the light or a vivid dream, but I knew what I had experienced was real. Determined to solve the mystery, I asked other partygoers about the girl. But no one remembered her presence. It was as though she had never existed. Weeks turned into months, and the enigma of the girl from the frat house consumed me. I couldn't let it go, couldn't shake the feeling that something was profoundly wrong. I started researching the history of the Alpha Omega frat house, searching for any clues. Then, one day, I stumbled upon a chilling revelation, a news article from a decade ago. It told the story of a girl who had mysteriously vanished from Pioneer Hall, an adjacent dormitory to the frat house. Her description matched the girl I had met at the party. Long, dark hair, a white dress, an air of otherworldly beauty. The article detailed the eerie circumstances of her disappearance. She had been attending a party in Pioneer Hall on the night she vanished, last seen on the staircase leading to the upper floors. I rushed to my friends, my hands trembling as I showed them the article. Their faces turned pale as they read it, and the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. The girl I had talked to, the one with the hidden face, was the girl who had disappeared without a trace from Pioneer Hall a decade ago. But the horror didn't end there. The article went on to describe how she had become a ghostly presence in the very frat house we had partied in, appearing only to a select few, luring them away from the revelry into the shadows. My friends and I were shaken to our core, haunted by the knowledge that I had encountered a restless spirit that night. The Alpha Omega frat house held a dark secret, one that would forever haunt our memories. Emily had always been the quiet one among her college friends. While they reveled in the excitement of parties and the thrill of hooking up with strangers, she often found herself feeling like the odd one out. So, when they decided to attend a notorious frat party one Friday night, Emily reluctantly agreed to go along. The frat house was a cacophony of music, laughter, and bodies garroting to the beat. Her friends eagerly paired off with partygoers, leaving Emily feeling increasingly isolated. She decided to drown her loneliness in a plastic cup of cheap punch. As the night wore on, Emily noticed a guy across the room. He had a disarming smile and an easy confidence that drew her in. Feeling the weight of her friend's expectations and wanting to fit in, Emily made it easier than usual for him to approach her. Their chemistry was undeniable, and before long, they were lost in the pulsating rhythm of the party. The night eventually came to a close, and Emily and her newfound partner parted ways, his name forgotten in the haze of the party. Emily returned to her apartment, her sense of isolation now compounded by the events of the evening. A few days later, Emily started receiving calls from a blocked ID number. At first, she dismissed them as random telemarketers or prank calls. But the calls persisted, growing more frequent and unsettling with each passing day. One evening, as Emily was settling into her apartment, she received a photo message. It was a picture of her window taken from the dimly lit alleyway below. Panic surged through her veins as she stared at the image. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of someone lurking just outside her home. Emily couldn't explain it, but everywhere she went, she felt a lingering presence, as if someone were following her. She told her friends about the strange occurrences, but they brushed it off as her imagination running wild. "That's just a perk of being hot," one of her friends quipped. "People can't help but notice you." But Emily knew it was more than that. She couldn't escape the constant feeling of dread, the nagging suspicion that something was terribly wrong. One fateful night, as Emily was heading home from the library, she noticed a shadowy figure trailing her. Panic seized her heart, and she quickened her pace, darting into an alley to lose her pursuer. It was then that she realized she was being followed by the very guy she had hooked up with at the frat party. Her adrenaline surged, and she sprinted through the labyrinthine streets of the college town, desperately trying to lose him. She reached her apartment building and raced up the stairs, fumbling for her keys. But before she could unlock her door, he caught up to her. With a malicious glint in his eye, he lunged at her, attempting to overpower her. Emily fought back with all the strength she could muster, clawing, screaming, and resisting. In a moment of sheer determination, Emily managed to break free from his grasp. She burst into her apartment, slamming the door behind her and locking it just in time. Trembling with fear and adrenaline, she called the police, providing them with every detail she could remember. When the authorities arrived, they apprehended the man, who turned out to be a stalker with a history of violence against women. Emily's intuition had saved her from a harrowing fate that night. As the man was led away in handcuffs, Emily couldn't help but feel a profound sense of relief. Her friends, chastened by the gravity of the situation, realized that Emily's instincts had been right all along. They had dismissed her concerns, but she had trusted her gut, and it had ultimately saved her life. Emily's harrowing experience served as a stark reminder that sometimes it's better to trust your instincts, even when everyone else tells you otherwise. She emerged from the ordeal stronger and more aware of the dangers lurking in the shadows. Adam had always been the life of the party, the top dog of his fraternity, and the embodiment of college revelry. He was the go-to guy for organizing epic parties and was celebrated as the king of the frat house. His life was a never-ending stream of fun. After hosting another wild and raucous party, Adam woke up in his bed. As he scrolled through his phone, a text message caught his eye. It read, "Meet in the Foxwoods tonight, 11 p.m. Only the strong conquer." It struck him as odd. Usually, he was in the loop about any upcoming events, especially something as significant as this. He couldn't recall hearing anything about a secretive competition in the woods. He brought up the message with his frat brothers, expressing his bewilderment. His friends chuckled, patting him on the back. "You worry too much, bro," they said. "You're the best among us, that's why you got the message. It's just a little test to show everyone who's boss." Boosted by their confidence, Adam decided to embrace the challenge. He believed he could handle anything that came his way. That evening, he packed a small bag, slipped into his car, and drove out to the designated location. The woods lay a few miles outside the city, shrouded in darkness. Adam's headlights pierced the blackness as he pulled into the desolate gravel parking area. Strangely, no other cars were in sight. Confused but undeterred, Adam decided to follow the faint glow of torchlight and muffled voices that beckoned him deeper into the woods. It wasn't long before he lost sight of his car and any sense of direction. The path led him deeper into the forest, the torches casting airy shadows among the trees. The muffled voices grew clearer but remained incomprehensibly, as if speaking in a foreign tongue. As he ventured further into the woods, a sense of unease began to creep over him. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong, that this wasn't the friendly competition he had expected. He tried to turn back, but the path behind him had vanished into the night. With a sinking heart, Adam realized he was lost, surrounded by strangers whose intentions were unclear. Panic gnawed at him as he continued to follow the torchlight, driven by an inexplicable compulsion. Finally, he emerged into a clearing. The sight that greeted him was like something out of a nightmare. A circle of cloaked figures stood before a massive, grotesque altar. At its center was a gaping maw, adorned with strange symbols and flickering flames. His heart raced as he realized the gravity of the situation. He had stumbled into a cult, one that worshipped a malevolent entity hidden in the woods. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks, but it was too late to escape. As the cultists chanted in a language he couldn't comprehend, they began to encircle him, their eyes filled with an unholy zeal. Adam's blood ran cold as he realized the true purpose of their gathering. He had been led here as a sacrifice, chosen for his strength and vitality. Desperation overcame him, and he fought with every ounce of his being, but he was outnumbered and overpowered. The cultists dragged him to the grotesque altar, their chants growing louder and more frenzied. In his final moments, as the cultists prepared to offer him to their sinister deity, Adam's mind raced with regret. He had underestimated the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of his college life, the secrets hidden behind closed doors. As the ritual reached its climax and the cultists' voices rose to a deafening crescendo, Adam's vision blurred into darkness. His life was extinguished like a candle in the wind, a sacrifice to a malevolent entity that hungered for the strength of the living. His frat brothers would never know the truth of what had happened to their beloved king of the party, for Adam had fallen victim to a darkness far more profound than he could ever have imagined. Thank you for watching. Like and comment what would you have done. Subscribe for more.